All right, welcome back. 26 past the hour. President Trump's approval rating is at or below 45% in 10 of the states he won in 2016. That's according to Gallup. Those states include Texas, Iowa, Georgia, Florida, Ohio, and Arizona. Arizona is among a handful of states that has scrapped its 2020 Republican presidential primary. Over the weekend, Alaska became the latest to join that group when that state's Republican Party passed a rule stating a primary would, quote, would serve no useful purpose because Donald Trump is president. The three Republican challengers to President Trump recently banded together to write an op-ed for the Washington Post warning why canceling GOP primaries is a critical mistake. And the three candidates all join us now. Former Congressman Joe Walsh of Illinois, former Congressman and Governor Mark Sanford of South Carolina, and former Governor Bill Weld of Massachusetts.
Governor, let's begin with you. It's rich, is it not, that Donald Trump spent the entire 2016 campaign first whining about the Republican primaries being rigged against him by insiders, and then complaining that Hillary Clinton's Democratic primary was rigged against Bernie Sanders. And yet here he is working furiously, Governor Weld, working furiously to actually have primary elections canceled and wiped off the book, and him being declared the winner without one person being able to vote in those states.
Well, obviously, canceling primaries undermines democratic institutions and democratic elections, but that's far from the deepest crime that the president has committed here. He's now acknowledged that in a single phone call, right after he suspended $250 million of military aid to Ukraine, he called up the president of Ukraine and pressed him 8 times to investigate Joe Biden, who the president thinks is going to be running against him. Talk about pressuring a foreign country to interfere with and control a U.S. election. It couldn't be clearer. And that's not just undermining democratic institutions. That is treason. It's treason pure and simple. And the penalty for treason under the U.S. Code is death. That's the only penalty. The penalty under the Constitution is removal from office, and that might look like a pretty good alternative to the president if he could work out a plea deal.
Congressman Joe Walsh, do you agree?
Yeah, Joe, look, this isn't complicated. I begin where you ended about 5-10 minutes ago. Donald Trump needs to be impeached, period. As Bill Weld just said, he told a foreign leader 2 months ago to interfere in our 2020 election. He needs to be impeached. He's obstructed justice. In 2016, he encouraged and welcomed Russian interference in our election. He's a king. He's a would-be dictator. This isn't complicated. 2020 is a referendum on Trump. It's not about any issue. It's not about the debt. It's not about tariffs. It's about this man who is unfit, this man who is a clear and present danger to this country. And if my party, the Republican Party, continues their cowardly silence, the party will be dead after 2020.
So, Governor Sanford, you just heard Governor Weld indicate that he feels it's treason. You heard Joe just talk about all the misgivings about what he's doing every day as president. So, my question to you is why so many of your former colleagues in the House of Representatives and governors, Republican governors around the country who you know, Republicans who you know, why do they sell their souls to silence rather than standing up for the United States of America?
Well, I mean, let's just say the obvious, which is the name of the game is staying in the game for a lot of people in politics. And so everybody's drawn their own line in terms of where they are on that particular debate. And I think you know where the three of us are on this larger debate. And I'd go back simply to the op-ed, which is, at the end of the day, holding elections, I mean, holding or not holding elections is the key to making a democracy and a republic work. And the idea of the Republican Party now being the party that is about disenfranchisement in terms of voter involvement, I think is a really bad signal to be sending. And I think that this idea of disbanding elections is also bad just from the standpoint of producing better candidates. I mean, the idea of football teams in South Carolina saying, tell you what, we're not going to practice this week, we're not going to scrimmage, we're just going to save our energy for the game on Friday night, would be viewed as crazy by a coach. And yet that's exactly what the Republican Party is doing in South Carolina, where they said, we're just going to hold on to everything. We'll just wait till next November. Well, guess what? You got a whole lot of candidates on the Democratic side scrimmaging and playing awfully hard, getting ready for that game come November next.
Governor Michael Steele here. Good to see all of you gentlemen. And I want to throw it on the table, but starting with Governor Sanford. The RNC, coupled now with the various states, to the point you were just making, have decided to start to shut down the primary process. Are you or all three of you prepared to take legal action, another bring some legal recourse to the conversation on behalf of yourselves and the primary process, how citizens are being disenfranchised from the process on a larger scale by beginning to shut down the effort to go out and vote for any one of you? I mean, it's a competitive process.
Sure. I actually held a series of press conferences across South Carolina on last Monday, and I talked about, wait a minute, you know, not only is it about disenfranchisement, this is ultimately about something a whole lot simpler, which is it doesn't make any sense. I mean, in the world of politics, if you have a chance to pick up an alleged 80 or 90% win, which is what the Trump campaign suggests they have in terms of lead, you take it, particularly if it's the first and South primary, which South Carolina is. Instead, they're canceling it. It just doesn't make any sense. It says to a lot of folks that Trump support is a mile wide and an inch deep. And so, yes, I'm going to look at any and all options to answer your question.
Hey, Michael, to answer your question, Michael, yes, we are going to fight this with everything we've got. This is about disenfranchisement. This isn't Russia. This isn't China. You just can't cancel elections in the United States of America, but that's what Donald Trump is doing. And make no mistake about it, Michael, this is Donald Trump telling the Republican Party bosses what to do, because the Republican Party bosses, the Republican Party establishment, all they want to do is wash their dictators' feet every doggone day. I go back to what I've said before. This president needs to be impeached. That's on the table right now. The Republican Party needs to have the courage to do what's right.
Governor Weld, you went a little bit further than just impeachment in your prior comments, and I just want to continue with that a bit. You said that Donald Trump has committed treason, and the penalty for treason under American law is death. What's the legal framework here? Have you looked into this? How do you see this proceeding?
Well, the legal framework is under the U.S. Criminal Code. The only penalty for treason is death. It's spelled out in the statute. Under the Constitution, as you know, grounds for removal from office, impeachment and removal from any federal office, are treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. We don't have to worry about bribery anymore, although I think he's committed that. We don't have to worry about other high crimes and misdemeanors, although I think he's committed many. He's such a lawless man. We've got treason, and we don't have to dribble around the court. We can go right for the hoop. But this president has been trying to cancel this election for months. He tried to cancel the New Hampshire first-in-the-nation primary. Well, that went over like a lead balloon in New Hampshire because they're not stupid. So the people of New Hampshire were really the first ones to stand up to President Trump this year. But the time has come, it's well past time for this guy, in my opinion, to be colloquial, to be carted off to save us all. He's daring us all to let him be totally lawless. He has no respect for the law. He doesn't understand the law. He has no knowledge base under any issues. Why do we want this man as president of the United States? I don't get it. And now the path is clear. It's a whole new level, and we have to count noses among the Republicans in the Senate. And if they won't say this is a bridge too far for us, then they really, as Congressman Walsh said, I totally agree with him, they have no chance at the ballot box next year. Not just President Trump, but those members of the Senate.
All right, Mark.